many mental conditions cannot really be resolved if we exclude the spiritual component, because the spiritual component allows us to investigate these unseen parts that are influencing our mind, our emotions, our body. And then as soon as somebody comes to terms with how they see the world and how they see themselves in it, that this literally sets the stage for everything that comes beyond it. Yeah, the ability to see beyond what has to do with our belief about it. And as soon as you can accept that there are layers of, say, what we call energy around you that influence you in the unseen, then you can start training that sense, because that's something that we all inherently have. It's just an unseen, or it's an untrained skill that we have. Welcome everybody to our daily sacred self, our energy talk and meditation together here on Skype, soon to be on YouTube. My name is Jona Bryndis. I'm an energy coach and energy healer, helping people to go through times like this. Today I wanted to talk to you guys about energy management, what this even means. What does it mean to be able to manage my energies without all the woo-woo talk? The weekend, specifically Sunday, was a little heavy on energetically sensitives. I don't know if you guys felt that. It wasn't that you felt particularly bad or anything. It was just like one of those days where, I don't know, it felt kind of weird to be in your body. Could you feel this too? It was motivationless, I guess. It felt, at least this is what I could observe with myself and everybody I know. It's like we had all plans and, good intentions, and somehow there wasn't enough energy. So we call this heavy for an energetically sensitive, because it's almost like we can't break through that. It's like no matter what we try, yeah, like the things we have in our toolbox, they don't seem to grip. I can tell by your thumbs up that there are a few of you who've experienced similar things. Here, a little bit of a heads up. Those of you who look at the transCODES monthly calendar, you can see this day for day. Tomorrow is going to be a particularly heavy day. And I want you to understand that tomorrow is going to be a little different, because it's going to trigger some of these things that we talked about last week. Things that put you into fear, that put you into survival, that trigger some of your unconscious inner child stuff. Yes, depending on what time zone you're in, you can already feel this today. All right, so there is something going on that makes us feel we are not in full control of our energy. And as you guys know, this is what I've been doing here for 10 years, providing people with tools for self-mastery, and specifically for energetically sensitives, because it's been so hard to talk about these things in the past, let alone us even being fully aware of what it actually is that is impacting us physically, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, or etherically. Most people can't even differentiate, where something is hitting them. So Sunday, the weekend, the full moon weekend, was very physical. Tomorrow is going to feel a bit more emotional. And I want you to understand that there is a component when it comes to our emotions that has to do with the physical, but also with the mental. The psychologists amongst you know this. Yeah, there is obviously neurotransmitters, hormones, and stuff like that that can influence the way we feel. We feel subjectively. There's our physical energy, just the vitality that we have that can influence the way we feel. But there's also our thoughts that can influence the way we feel. And it does that through producing different perspectives. So a specific thought can create a specific perspective. And many of you know this already because I work a lot with you guys on this. When we have a specific perspective, then it also alters or can alter our perception. And when our perception is such that it is overlaid by our emotions, our physical well-being, and our thoughts about basically the interpretation of what is going on, we cannot fully trust our perception. This is something that is probably the most important takeaway for all of us, no matter whether we're energetically sensitive or not. Right now, we're having a time, and this is just the times that we are in, guys, where there's a lot of overlay. And because so much uncertainty is sort of in our everyday life, we look on the outside for some guidance, for some, news or tools, or, what other people think or what their opinion is or how they do it. And there is a little bit of a problem with that, because our perception is not just influenced by the physical, emotional, and mental. It's also influenced by the spiritual, which is our overall sort of worldview and how we see ourselves in the world, how we make sense of things, the purpose that the world has, and that we as a soul with a body, the role that we have in all of this. And this is mostly invisible for everybody, the etheric, what is going on in sort of these astral dimensions that most people find fascinating, but yet mysterious and therefore also a bit scary. So I don't want to scare you, but I do want to let you know that there is a lot going on in all of these different layers here that are influencing us. And the ones that we can fully control are the ones that that play out in the scene. That's our physical, emotional, mental. The parts that we cannot fully control, and this is something you got to wrap your ego mind around, is the spiritual and the etheric. Now, the spiritual has to do with our beliefs, but our beliefs are something that are still heavily influenced by our sociology, by our upbringing, by our conditioning, how we have been raised, like the beliefs of people around us, pretty much just sort of what rubs off onto us, like from the environment that we're in. So we can work with this, and this has a lot to do with self-mastery, as many of you know, because we can have unconscious beliefs that can be quite blocking or sabotaging ourselves against our better knowing or against our better intention. The etheric is not controllable for most of you. That is until you actually accept that there is a layer of you that has to do with you not being a physical being. And here is the bridge. This is why, psychologists now recognize that many mental conditions cannot really be resolved if we exclude the spiritual component, because the spiritual component allows us to investigate these unseen parts that are influencing our mind, our emotions, our body. And then as soon as somebody comes to terms with how they see the world and how they see themselves in it, that this literally sets the stage for everything that comes beyond it. Yeah, the ability to see beyond what has to do with our belief about it. And as soon as you can accept that there are layers of, say, what we call energy, around you that influence you in the unseen, then you can start training that sense, because that's something that we all inherently have. It's just an unseen, or it's an untrained skill that we have. And this is a big part of my life's mission, to help children to develop this at a stage where all this say sabotaging or unconscious programming, where they learn the tools to already bypass that and grow beyond this in a very, very early stage, so that later in life it isn't so much backpedaling and so much work, to identify this. So those of us here who are more like older folks, we have had the well, we've gone the hard way. We've learned all these lessons through life. And there's nothing wrong with this, because when you learn lessons through life, they stick. So for some of you listening to me, this might sound like, something completely new, or something that you've never considered. And it might be the beginning of a whole new journey for you. And for some of you, this is something that can give context to what you've experienced in the past, and leads to healing of some of your past experiences and sometimes traumas. And for some of you, what I talk about is your everyday business, because you already identify yourself as somebody who is energetically sensitive, who has found his or her way in the world with your energetic senses, seeing it in a more differentiated way, and therefore consciously or actively working on, participating in your life, really, self-mastery, if you will, to work with the intricacies of that. So I'm assuming that most of you listening to me right now belong to the latter group, or the group that is finding healing here in talking about those kind of things. So I'd love to hear from you right now here for our energy talk. What all this context that I'm providing you with, how that helps you in your own self-mastery. What are some of the biggest lessons that you have learned understanding yourself in a more differentiated way as an energetic being, so to speak? What can you share with others as your wisdom for, somebody maybe who's hearing something like this for the first time?
Hi, Jona. Cheryl from Canada.
Hi, Cheryl, Canada.
One of the biggest things that's taken me the longest amount of time to accept and change, not so much accept, was how much of a projector I am. So before my training, I didn't understand what was coming back at me was a pretty much direct result of what I was putting out. So I would project emotions all over other people, and that's what I got back. So I would say one of the biggest things that's been of huge benefit is to learn about that, the projection and absorption. And I think in what I can see coming today, that's a really handy skill to be in the process of mastering, is to not do that, so that I don't absorb as much from the insanity that is here now.
That's a
Thanks,
pretty
Yoda.
complex lesson. Thank you.
Yeah.
You know, I can hear a lot of objections here that people might have, or conclusions that they can come to just listening to you here. I know what you're talking about. You saying that there is a constant interaction of energies, and that it somehow, what comes back to you, that it somehow has to do with what you put out. Now, someone who's going through a tragedy, for example, will not agree with you. Yeah. So how can we reconcile that? How can we reconcile the fact that, things really just happen, and that there isn't always, it doesn't always point back to me, right? There was people out there that do harm to other people for no reason, or even the collective stuff that is going on. It's not necessarily personal. It doesn't have anything to do with what I put out. I do understand what you're saying, but how is that different? You talking about energetic dynamics in the unseen. Yeah, this is a very differentiated view. You saying that what you project into the world alters your perception in a way that what you see coming back at you, this is your insight, right? That this is connected to what you put out there. So in other words, you're not saying that it's all your fault, and you're no longer saying that it's all their fault, right? That's what you're saying. You're saying that you're seeing a connection here. You're seeing that it somehow interacts. Yeah.
Right.
And we need to.
Yeah.
This is very important because there is this New Age myth, okay, that you are responsible for what happens to you. This is not what I heard you say, and I would disagree with that. It isn't that way. But what I hear you say, just for differentiation's sake, is that there's a part in you, yeah, that needs to be owned, okay, that sees the world and people's responses from a certain perspective. And that perspective leads to thoughts, leads to reactions, leads to physical conditions in you, right, that wants to project this back out, that wants to externalize this in some way. And as sort of a ping pong ball going back and forth between you and others, you realize that there is some kind of connection there. And you realize that your part in this, since you've mentioned emotions, was the unconscious projection, of your emotions to others and how that affects others. This is something, Cheryl, extremely important for people to learn, especially if you are empathic in nature, because that insight alone, I personally, my journey also reached really a pivotal point when I realized what you just said. Okay, because in that moment I realized, wait a minute, there are things I'm doing to others I'm not even aware of. No wonder they're responding in this way. And it's kind of like this endless domino, right? Where my responses make another person maybe protect themselves or counteract what I'm doing. And the big insight here is that when I stop doing that, they stop doing that. And the reconciliation with the sort of simple conclusion that we're responsible for everything is that no, it's not that way. It's just that we really need to be aware of what we put out there. We need to become more aware, because if we want to prevent this unconscious type of back and forth of energies, then we need to first take care of our side of the fence. To first become more conscientious and more honest, really, with ourselves about what we put out there. And that is an uncomfortable process. Our ego doesn't like that, because our ego finds relief in justification and righteousness and says, oh, this person, just yelled at me, and I hate this person, but I'm going to put on a nice face. I'm going to smile at them, and have all these nasty thoughts in the back of my mind, thinking that this has no consequences. So the first big lesson that we learn when we actually investigate energetic dynamics and energetic interaction with people is that nothing just poofs away. And just because our thoughts or our sentiments aren't visible or hearable for other people doesn't mean that they don't exist in the energetic. Anyone, and yes, it's only a few of us, but anyone who can see energies or feel energies can observe that and verify that. Energies don't just poof away. So our thoughts, our sentiments, our moods, our expressions, our micro movements, our body language, all that seen as energy has an effect on others. And going a step farther, all of us together as humans, as humanity on this planet, create something that we call this collective energy layer. And that one is the one that we feel coming back to us, sort of as this invisible matrix. Okay, when we suffer from this, what I called earlier, overlay. Do you guys see the meaning of this? Yes, I'm looking at your comments here. Annette, yes, seeing and working with your own blind spots. That's the part. And the blind spots, they often have something to do with our upbringing and our inner child and our fears and so forth, and our survival. So it's there's a reason why there are blind spots. It's our ego isn't against us. Our ego fulfills an important function. It's supposed to keep us sane, guys. Remember that. Yeah, when we experience something that we cannot handle, when it becomes overwhelming at a certain moment, our ego is supposed to give us sort of a quick fix. Yeah, and the quick fix, unfortunately, often resorts back to the past, what worked in the past. And the blind spot that we have is that even though some things like checking out or freezing or not deciding anything or being passive or attacking everything that comes my way may have worked temporarily, may have worked for 5 minutes, it may not be such a good strategy. And that often becomes our blind spot. Yeah, we don't see that this ping pong actually works at all times. And yes, the blind spots are where that's hidden in us. Recognizing false self and true self moments. Tina Marie, this is super, super important what you are sharing here. This is a short version basically of saying one needs to be willing to pay attention to their own inner states and recognize, build a sort of a lexicon of sensations, a reference system for when I am fully one with myself, when I am in my center, when I feel balanced, when I feel connected with my inner guidance, and when I feel sort of standing next to me, or when I'm incongruent, when what I put out to other people is not really who I am. And the word false self has many different definitions. The way we use this here in context with self-mastery and energy work is that we see the false self as sort of our protective layer that we put on, like a coat that we put on when we leave the house to protect ourselves, to present a certain role in the world. And sometimes false selves are needed. If you think of your job and you go into your work, you have to present a certain, say, job description that you have. This is a form of a false self. Don't get misleaded by the word false. It's not necessarily wrong. False just means you knowing that this isn't you, and this willingness to be true with yourself will help you differentiating this, because we often get confused there. Yeah, we take on our false self, believing that that is who we truly are, and that's then ultimately what makes us feel confused. So the solution for that is to pay attention and build a reference system and have this self-reporting, yeah, where you know where you're standing, where you know that you're not your true self at a given moment. That's all it takes for you to shed some light in, some of these unconscious things that are going on, or even the blind spots. Learning about the importance of body care, Becky is sharing. Yes, It's such a simple thing, isn't it? And yet, and I'm fully with you here, Becky, it took me so long to figure out that when I'm hungry, my mood shifts, my emotions shift, and my thoughts shift. And when I eat something, or when I drink something, or when I have enough sleep, or when I've exercised, everything looks differently. So body care is something very, very fundamental, not even reflecting back on things that are going on right now with COVID and so forth that makes us more health conscious anyway. But body care as a huge, big tool for energy management is extremely important for us to realize. That's why it really helps to go into the self-reporting with yourself, um, based on differentiating, yeah, physically, my physical well-being, my emotional well-being, my mental, intellectual well-being, my spiritual, social well-being, and my etheric, energetic well-being. It really helps. And as many of you know, here in the Sacred Self-Healing course, we have protocols that help us with that, and self-reporting sheets and journals and so forth that help us to differentiate and build this framework, this reference system that Tina Marie mentioned earlier. I see you guys typing. We're running out of time. Sheila sharing, I've started writing quick tracking for my self-care, and it helps a lot. Yes, it's the journaling. It really is. It doesn't require you to write big stories, just like checklists maybe. We are so concerned about all the kinds of chores that life, throws at us. Oh, did you bring the trash out? Did you do the laundry? You got to do this, you got to do this, you got to do this. Well, but did you put body lotion on? Did you take the time to, maybe meditate for 10 minutes, or just sit outside if you have a garden and look at the flowers, smell the roses, or did you exercise not because you're supposed to, but because it's good for you? Did you, do the things that help you? Did you drink enough water today? Did you eat good foods, or did you eat foods that don't make you feel that good? It's absolutely vital, guys, and it's not just as energetically sensitive, but if you want to really be able to deal with all that is going on without getting caught in your blind spots or ego mind or collective craziness, you're going to have a really good system down, how to manage your energy and your energetic well-being. Not up there, not like as in sort of kumbaya, but as in fundamentally practical and pragmatic, your everyday routines. Yes, it's super, super important. And it must include your body, but also, keeping track of your emotions and your thoughts and your perspectives and the beliefs behind that. And this takes work, yes. This work that it takes for us to grow in times like this is work. Yes, but guess what? How much time do you spend on social media or reading news or just trying to make sense of what is going on right now? Yeah, compared to the time that it takes to express self-care and self-love and getting yourself into a place of centeredness and groundedness, where everything that you experience on the outside, be it, on your phone or on your computer or with other people, becomes a lot easier for you to process and to contextualize. Yes. Yes, the body never lies, although obviously the body can take a toll. And this is something that many of you who are a little older and who haven't really taken care of your bodies or, your emotional, spiritual well-being in the past, you are recognizing that your body is kind of fatigued, that it has certain, say, it shows symptoms. And I want you to know, guys, that especially energy healing can help you to recover that, can help you to reverse all this. All right, some conditions are mechanical. Obviously, you need certain, Western medicine, allopathic healing methods, but some can be, healed with simple changes. Yeah, changing your pH by drinking teas or by drinking more water or by surrounding yourself with etheric oils or by surrounding yourself with more plants or, more loving colors, more beauty and things like this. Yeah. So it doesn't have to be super complex. I want to do the meditation with you now. The main part of what we're coming here for, namely 20 minutes of really going within and doing this energetic self-care together. I've picked step 13 from the Sacred Self-Healing Experience course that deals with mystical energies, and it kind of invites you to go into these moments of deeper awareness by connecting with something or aligning yourself to an energy that you deem as pure. And most of us intuitively do this with nature. Nature, is probably from an etheric standpoint your safest bet. Anything that represents sort of divine creation. Yeah, man-made things aren't really that well suited, simply because you don't always know what the intention was of something, to be built or done. So my suggestion to you is that you take this meditation sort of as a template for just allowing your energies to connecting a little more with this beautifully healing spirit world around you. Yeah. And the best way to do this is just to go into nature and connect with nature's spirits or elements. Welcome back. Whew. Yeah, taking the time to go within and aligning to the center of your own center changes perspective, changes perception. And most of all in these days, actually changes thoughts and emotions and how you feel in your body. It changes context. It doesn't make things go away, but it helps you to be more connected to your inner guidance, to who you truly are. And with that, it can help you to come up with better solutions, better strategies, better plans on how to resolve issues that you're dealing with. Yeah, Nigel, this was a mini journey. That's true. If we can allow that, it sends us onto a journey within. You're welcome, everybody. Beautiful. Thank you so much for coming here and spending this time. I'm going to make this even easier for people by switching to YouTube Live, and doing this every day. A little less talk. I'll call this daily sacred self energy prayer. Basically, going into the space with you every day, praying for our higher power, our higher self, to be more present for us. And in that moment where we spend more time or pay attention to it, it will also be more present for us on a daily level. Can't wait, guys. I have the best job in the world. See you on Friday. Thank you. Bye-bye.